Plates ready? This is Food School, Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast. Want to feel amazing, love the way you look in the mirror, and perform your absolute best in the gym, at work, and in life? You're definitely in the right place. Food. It's you. It builds every single cell of you. And if there is one thing every human being must master, it's food. Because at the very least, eating, you do it every day, several times a day, every single day. You might as well get good at it. I'm your host, Shurina from Create Yourself That Today, your personal nutritionist and plate watcher, your diet guide and explorer, your fat loss coach and food inspector. And just someone with a lot of passion and obsession and curiosity for healthy food, healthy diets, nutrition, optimized human performance, everything and absolutely anything you put in your grocery shopping cart, your fridge, on your plate, and in your mouth. It's my business. Food School, on a mission to help you eat better daily.
It's the last time I talk about food. It's the last time I talk about food.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast. Welcome to Food Thursday, and I don't really know what it means, but it means that today is going to be interesting. And we're going to talk about, we're going to do three things. We're going to talk about plant-based meats, chickens, fish, milks, and all the battles that are happening in the food world right now. Why they happen and what it means to you and how to actually make better choices. And does it really make any sense to go plant-based? Then the second thing I want to talk to you about is gut microbiome and its role in our health, in our development, and even in our personalities. From some of the recent studies that came out from European science institutes and US and all across the globe. It's so awesome that we get to read all this research from across the globe, not just being stuck in our head and in our own paradigm, depending on where in the world we are. It's totally awesome. And then I'm gonna read to you an extract from the book that I'm totally loving. It's the book's name is formerly known as food, and it's basically about our food industry these days and how most of the foods that people buy were in some way altered, and in most cases they were altered not for the best, but to make it more shelf stable, to get more profits, and also how all of these foods have been on the market for less than half a century. And it's basically just an experiment, guys, experiment that a lot of times you participate in, and nobody is guaranteed the result. And I'm gonna read you an extract that just shows you how, for example, American Heart Association was advertising something and promoting something as heart healthy that actually causes heart disease. Yeah, and then, so wonder next time when you listen to the authorities about the healthiness of another food experiment. But let's get back to the beginning. Plant-based meats, chickens, fish, milks, is it truly worth it? Now, in some cases, the products that are made from plants that resemble animal products are really good. They're really worth it. For example, take some good quality almond milk. Compared to cow's milk that is on the market today, it is much better alternative. Of course, it depends on the ingredients, but almond milk, it's actually considered to be whole food still, or an extract from whole foods, because usually the milk is made by just mixing and blending the essence of almonds, removing all the fibers. And if the producer doesn't add any weird ingredients, that it can be a really healthy addition to your diet. It can provide calcium and vitamin E, and who knows what else. We still don't know all of the compounds that food have. But if you take something like an Impossible burger, and let me read you something from their website. In 2018, we debuted a new Impossible burger, and it's tastier, juicier, and better than ever. Here is the ingredient list: water, soy protein concentrate, coconut oil, sunflower oil, natural flavors, potato protein, methyl cellulose, yeast extract, cultured dextrose, food starch modified, soy legumoglobin or something like that. I don't even know what some of the ingredients are, and I definitely would not buy it. Soy protein isolate mixed, and a bunch of added vitamins and minerals, I guess, to make it look good and to make it closer to like nutrition profile of a real good quality meat. Like, this is not better, guys. This stuff with sunflower oil, with soy, with God knows what else and where it's derived from, like nutritionally, this is some really scientific experiment, some health hazard, especially with vegetable oils that were cooked, that were oxidized, that promote inflammation, that are proven. Every studies that are done in a correct way, they all prove that vegetable oils create more inflammation in your body, and inflammation causes almost or worsens almost all of the diseases in your body. Like, you don't want to be getting more inflammation by eating that stuff. You'll be much better off eating natural meat from naturally raised and grass-fed, grass-finished, humanely raised animals. And yeah, don't overeat it all the time, but it's much better than this alternative thing. I don't even know how they can compare nutritionally and saying that this is better than regular meat. Like, this is just not true. And if you're someone who knows anything about nutrition, you'll really understand that this is just scam. It is not better for your health. And if they're worried about saving the planet, it's very actually questionable about saving the planet too, because all these ingredients, they also come from somewhere, from some industrial processing. So again, would I go for this Impossible burger thing? Not a chance, and you shouldn't either. If you want to eat beans, if you want to go plant-based, eat whole foods, whole plants, like, do that. That is much better idea. And then also you might hear, if you're if you're someone interested in food policies, food industry, or what you buy at the store. So the animal producers, like of any sort, who produce meat or dairy products and all sorts of animal foods, they argue with those alternative foods producers that those shouldn't call their products like burgers or hot dogs or sausages, because or milks, they should come up with their own name. And for me personally, if something says on the package soy burger, like, that wouldn't confuse me. Or if it says, I don't know, lentil sausage, that wouldn't confuse me. But when something says Impossible burger, like, I have no idea by just looking at the front label without digging into the ingredients. Like, I have no idea what it actually is. And sometimes when somebody tells me Impossible burger, I'm still not sure whether that is lab-grown meat or plant-based alternative. Like, the name doesn't tell me anything, and that confuses a producer. Or when somebody tells you almond milk, or you see almond milk on the shelf, I bet it doesn't confuse you either. Or when you say soy milk, like, you don't think that it's milk that cow produce, right? But when you see something like Oh, there is a company, A Better Day, and they create cell cultured dairy products. Like if you call something a better day, like I would not have any idea how it's made or what it's made of. So I believe that there should be some clarity about names, but again, if something says right on the label that it's soy burger or tofu sausage, you just gotta specify really clearly what that sausage is made of without me having to dig deep into the ingredients and look at every single ingredient. Like there should be some clarity, even though I don't think they should go as far as forbidding those alternative foods producers calling their stuff using the words like sausage or burger or milk. They just gotta, also specify right there on the front label, because not everyone has the time to dig into all the ingredients all the time as more products come to the market. Like you should specify what it's made of. And if it's tofu burger, then call it tofu burger. Or if it's lentil sausage, then call it lentil sausage or something like that. And if it's almond milk, then call it almond milk, right? So we know what it's made of. And the conclusion for plant-based stuff, some of it, like almond milk, it is better. But some of it, like Impossible Burger, it is a health hazard and you shouldn't be eating that. You are much, much better health-wise, 100%, like there is no doubt about it, eating humanely raised meat and fish and chicken. Of course, if those animals were fed antibiotics and hormones and God knows what else, then that's another story. But if it's good quality meat, chicken, fish, etc., then you shouldn't be looking at plant-based stuff. It's nutritionally also much more poor than actual animal foods. Then let's switch to our microbiome. And the thing that I was reading a few articles that recently came out from, again, across the globe, different research laboratories. And so eating more fiber, certain kind of fiber found in vegetables, can lead to beneficial changes in our gut microbiota, composition and function, but only for a short while, say Belgium researchers. So basically the whole research is about how the change in our diet changes beneficially our microbiome, that changes a lot of health aspects for the better. And then they say, but the changes are not, they basically reverse to their initial state when you stop eating vegetables. And then in my head, there is a question, like when you take a shower or brush your teeth, you do not expect to take a shower once and be clean for your whole life. So why would you expect to eat vegetables for like 3 weeks and have the results for your whole life? Like, why people even argue about that? Like, can you understand that? If you want to be clean, if you want to have healthy teeth and have fresh breath, you would brush your teeth, you would take a shower every day, and that's what all of us do. So if you want to have a healthy microbiome, then you eat your vegetables every day or as often as possible for your whole life. If you want to be fit and mobile for your whole life, you gotta exercise every day. It's not like you exercised once and now you're fit for life, or you eat healthy once, or you ate, fatty fish once and now you have omega-3s for your whole life. That just doesn't work like that. So even raising that question of having the effects of eating vegetables forever, it's kind of like stupid. I don't know, maybe they didn't go out of their labs for quite a while, and maybe they do not take shower every day. I don't know. But yeah, that just raises a lot of questions for me. Then there are also a couple of really fascinating studies, for example, like how the composition of our microbiome when we are born, like 6 months old. They did this study in Finland, actually. The composition of our microbiome that is influenced by breastfeeding, by the way that the child was born, either like cesarean, section procedure or naturally what the diet of the mother was during the pregnancy and while breastfeeding. All of that creates certain gut microbiome, and that can influence our character traits. So the way we are, our mood, how depressed we tend to be, or how joyful we are. So that is all influenced by our microbiome, and more research is coming out just now supporting that. And that happens as early as like 6 months old, maybe even earlier. They just did the research on infants at that age. And your microbiome, guys, is influenced by what you eat, and it's in a constant flux. So it doesn't just change as early as 6 months old, but it changes throughout your whole life. So me personally, I know that for sure, that the way I eat right now, I know that it's going to work for me short and long term, because I'm just more joyful. I'm full of energy every single day. And I wasn't like that at all. And I'm more open to interactions with the world, with people. I'm more secure I feel more secure in the world. I'm more like, I just get out there much more often, and I feel comfortable being in any social situation. Like, I wasn't always like that. I was really shy child, and I believe that was influenced by my diet and certain factors and in my early childhood that and I was also eating grains, and I was eating sugars when I was younger, and so that, I believed, what influenced my personality back then. And because I changed all of that, that changed my personality. And so now I'm a much more happier, joyful person, and I don't get depressed, and I don't get sick, and I just feel awesome. So I wish that to you too, and realize that a lot of it has to do with your gut microbiome that is 100% or really close to that, dependent on what you eat. So you are what you eat, even your personality. So start eating better foods, and don't expect the effect to last for life. In order that to last for life, you gotta do it for life. That's how it works. That's how taking shower works, right? And there was something else about our gut microbiome. Let me look at all the stuff. Food allergies. You know, a lot of folks are getting more and more food allergies and sensitivities these days. Mostly, I believe, because of all the weird like ingredients, compromised food supply that is getting further and further away from what it originally was, from what was formerly known as food, right? So that's why people are getting more and more food allergies. Because the gut microbiome just is not able to recognize all the new stuff that has just appeared, basically, on evolutionary timeline. So food allergies and gut microbiome. What the researchers found is actually there are certain kinds of gut bugs that cause food allergies, and certain gut bugs that prevent food allergies and food sensitivities. So they figure out what groups of bugs do which, and in the future they plan to somehow deliver certain gut bugs that are protective from food allergies into people's gut, and that's how they want to decrease the amount of food allergies people get in the first place. And so this is also very fascinating for anyone. Like, I myself still probably have food sensitivities, or maybe just the low quality products that are on the market. Like when I was a young kid, and I used to spend a lot of time at my grandma's farm, and I used to drink raw milk right from under the cow that was grass fed, grass finished, was roaming around, no antibiotics, no hormones. Of course, they were just our cows that we had at home. So when I drank that milk, I never had any sort of problem with that. But anytime I drink regular milk at the store, even when it says organic or anything similar. I always have problem like water retention the next day. I get bloated, get all sorts of anxieties, and so yeah, something will not go away no matter how advanced our gut science gets, right? And to finish off this episode, guys, I want to read you something from this book formerly known as Food, about American Heart Association and how they screwed up and how they changed their guidelines, causing probably thousands of deaths nationwide before they changed their mind. So, with the endorsement by the American Heart Association and Time magazine's cover story, many Americans switched to a diet of heart healthy, quote unquote, polyunsaturated fats and trans fats. Those are basically vegetable oils, guys, margarines, and all sorts of fake fats, and reduced their consumption of saturated fats. And a fad was born. Americans abandoned the long tradition of eating fats like butter or lard and instead began buying heavily marketed industrial products like margarine and vegetable oils like sunflower oil, canola oil, and all these heart healthy quote unquote fats. Both the polyunsaturated vegetable oils and artificial hydrogenated fats were a boom to the burgeoning processed food industry since they could be kept at room temperature and worked well in baked goods and fried foods. The health halo surrounding trans fats also meant that an increasing number of products could be marketed as healthful. And the added perk for food producers were that these oils were far less expensive than butter and lard. And so, for the first time in history, Americans began consuming large amounts of trans fats and other vegetable fats in place of traditional fats like butter, beef tallow, and lard. Americans now eat more than 1,000 times more soybean oil than they did in 1909. By the late 1980s, these oils were in nearly every processed food and were even used by local bakeries, restaurants, school cafeterias, and other place food where food was served. These oils did not exist for the most part, except in isolated parts of the world where they didn't have pigs and cows roaming around. These are not the same oils that Western societies were raised on, with the exception of olive oil, McCarran said. It's some reporter, obviously. As most of us now know, this was a disastrous turn of events. Trans fats, we have learned, are a major cause of heart disease, and they were, guys, marketed as heart healthy by American Heart Association. How screwed up is that? When Kumarov, I believe he was actually a Russian scientist, published his first paper on the harms of trans fats in 1957, he and other researchers who discovered harm from trans fats suffered marginalization and ridicule. Kumarov told me that he experienced strong, at times vicious resistance to his work and research. Physicians believe in the cholesterol hypothesis, which says that heart disease is due to cholesterol, Kumarov said. If you disturb anything that the physicians believe, you'll see a negative response. So you're questioning what physicians are doing and what the industry is doing, and that's a pretty powerful thing to take on, he went on. The fat trade is a huge source of money, and so when you're telling people that what they're eating is not a good thing to eat, it also disturbs the flow of money. The fat trade to which Kumarov was referring is the industry that produces trans fats and other sources of manufactured fats like many processed vegetable oils. The story of trans fats and the many vegetable oils that compose so much of our modern diet, from packaged foods to restaurant foods, are the perfect illustration of how it is virtually impossible for most people to navigate the world of nutrition and health due to the deep influence of the food industry. Fortunately, Kumarov's efforts were not in vain, although it did take the better part of the century for everyone else to catch on. Then in 1993, Walter Willett, professor of epidemiology and nutrition at the Harvard School of Public Health, began collecting data on trans fats consumption. After 8 years of studying more than 100,000 women, he found that women who ate 4 or more teaspoons of margarine per day had a 50% greater risk of heart disease than women who did not. 50%, guys, greater risk of heart disease. Willett, who called for a ban on trans fats, concluded that eliminating industrially produced trans fats would prevent approximately 20% of avoidable coronary heart disease death in the United States, or as many as 7,000 deaths annually. Finally, in 2006, the FDA required that all products list the amount of trans fats on nutrition labels. However, it left a loophole. If one serving size of the food contains less than 0.5 grams of trans fats, the label can read 0 trans fats or say trans fat free. Confusing matters even further is that the trans fats listed are from fat sources alone, even though food additives such as emulsifiers, basically if the food has trans fats itself, but then also there are additives that also might have trans fats, the producer of the food can omit that additional serving or amount of trans fats. The FDA does not require that manufacturers list trans fats on their labels when they are present as food additives. This means that if you see a food label claiming it is trans fat free, that is not necessarily the case. If the ingredient label lists partially hydrogenated oil, shortening, or mono and diglycerides, trans fats are present. And because people often eat more than one serving size at a time and multiple products throughout the day that contain small amounts, many Americans are still taking in significant amounts of trans fats. Even the FDA says so on its website. If there is partially hydrogenated oil listed with the ingredients, there might be a small amount of trans fats. Selecting foods with even small amounts of trans fat can add up to a significant intake. So, despite the FDA labeling requirement, trans fats are still very much a part of the American diet. They are also present in many restaurant foods because the oils are still used for frying, baking, and in salad dressings and sauces. Willett has said that trans fats are the biggest food processing disaster in US history. But that remains to be seen. With thousands of additives in our foods, who knows what will turn out to be the biggest disaster yet. So, guys, to conclude this episode and make you think, next time you see food with a lot of ingredients, or next time you eat in a place where you don't know what they put in your food, be almost 100% sure that this food will not be making your health better, and in fact, it's probably killing you slowly, gently, but for sure painfully. The conclusion, the useful takeaway: eat whole foods that of the best quality possible. Find your best, farmers, your food producers who make it their sale point the quality of their product. Go for the best quality. Do not trust any claims about weird ingredients that they are not harmful. Remember, once American Heart Association was advising to consume as heart healthy trans fats that were actually killing people. So eat whole foods of the best quality. Avoid weird, difficult to pronounce, unknown ingredients. Cook your food or have someone trustworthy to cook it for you. And as usual, till next time, eat better daily.